Welcome to Yashar Kids Garden. Hi, hello. This is Fortune from Yashar Kids Garden, and today we have a guest today. Just before we introduce our guest with us, we have a topic which we would like to talk about today, which is precisely on the situation in Nigeria, and more focuses on the farmers and headers. So, today's topic is titled Farmers and Headers Challenges Affecting Durable Food Security Solutions and Initiative in Nigeria. And to expound on this, we have Mr. Ayodele Amole with us. So, if we can just take a brief moment to listen to his presentation and we can begin our chat. Okay. So, Mr. Ayodele, can you kindly introduce yourself to our audience? And we're more than grateful to have you here today.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Ayodele Amole, and I'm a business consultant. I'm also a writer, and I'm obviously a Nigerian, so I think we can start from there.
Okay, so yeah, so that's a presentation from Mr. Ayodele, and so we will just get into the topic straight away. So, uh, I think I would like to start this topic by asking a general question. So, what is your opinion on food security? And just before we get to that, what is your understanding of food security? What does that mean to you?
So, understanding what food security means is very vital because food security is ability to have the access to food. That is food security. Then it's not just having access, but having sufficient purchasing power to get what is accessible. Yes, that is food security.
Okay, so thank you very much. I think that's a beautiful explanation. So basically, providing sustainable means of feeding a society within a specified period of time. Okay, so like I said, today's topic is about headers and farmers. So I was in a discussion with somebody not too long ago, and we were speaking about initiatives and setting up initiatives to ensure food security. And when I spoke about how it is necessary for us to create farms and sensitize people towards agriculture, and the person brought an issue to the front, and he was like, "Okay, so that is a beautiful initiative, but there seems to be some challenges, and these are challenges we are not unaware of. So we've heard about the issues about herders and farmers coming into conflict with one another. So how has this affected Nigeria as a country, and what do you think are some resolves to these issues? So I'd like to hear your viewpoints specifically on this subject, and if you've heard about these issues before. So I would like to hear your take on that.
Okay, the herders and farmers issue in Nigeria has been a very serious issue, which trickles down to everything that in Nigeria is feeling today when it comes to food security, hiking food prices, and scarcity of a lot of materials leading back to hiking prices. The herders and farmers is a age-long conflict that has started very subtly and now becoming a real social challenge for the country. The herders now, introducing the herders comprise mainly of the Fulani tribe. They are predominantly herders. They cultivate and farm cows. And the method is used in raising their cows is free range because they are nomad by nature, dating back to hundreds of years. Now, on the other hand, there is a large disparity of other tribes in Nigeria that are predominantly farmers of different crops. So, because of this conjugal arrangement between the northern Nigeria and the southern Nigeria, we have we have into a single unit where both the herders and the farmers have to thrive together. That is how it all started. Now, with the explosion of the Nigerian population, the farmers needed to expand the territories of farming, where to cater for the needy population. Also, the herders too, selling their meat all across the country, have bigger stockpile now and have to go far into distant lands of southern Nigeria. Bearing in mind that there's a desert encroaching from the Sahara
Mm.
from northern Nigeria, forcing the herders into the southern forest where they have to graze aimlessly and feed their cattle. So where the problem comes in is the expansion of the farms and the expansion of the reach of the herders. Now they collide in the forest, in farmlands, where the cattle encroach into the farmlands and hit most of their vegetations available, bringing a crisis that have been present in so many tribes across the country, ranging from the south to the west to the even to the northern part of Nigeria, where tribes are now fighting the elders and they are always at loggerhead now. So most of the time, because of security, these herders own very dangerous weapons. And these weapons now embolden them to kill, molest the farmers deep in the bush where the harms of security would not reach either of them.
These days. Sit made a bang. These days. Hey, look, these days, where economy just they fail. Come with Sapa way, no fit explain. You get brand where they sell, we go pay. We go pay, go pay, go hey, pay. Look, info, Leon Finfo, follow me, go, may we get money. Make you call your amigos, free membership, sign up quick, and no they carry body. If you buy, if you sell for this website, no commission, no cost for this website. But cool sellers, we go give you good price. And if you know like I'm go the next guy. Hey, no middleman, we go try take your money, they do your thing on a solo. You feel find anything, you feel sharply buy for any location where you there. So my manana, distress sales. My manana, distress sales. Distress sales.net. Distress sales.net. Distress sales.net. Distress sales.net.
Everybody just they dance, they smile for here, man. Be like see things they share for this website. Maybe go check out this website, man.
Okay, so this is a very interesting insight because I've actually heard this discussion, but I wasn't so enlightened on the subject. So, um, to you, given this situation, so obviously there is a need for, since the demand has increased with regards to the population, as you mentioned, there is a need to have more cows and obviously cows that are going to eat more grass. Okay, so hence the need to move around. And also, you mentioned the desert encroaching into the north. Is this I understand from my little understanding there is some kind of a jurisdiction when it comes to state and region. So, aren't these herders affected by these jurisdictional laws, or is there some kind of accord in place?
Mm, okay, because Nigeria is one entity, so the law is every Nigeria is free to move from one point to the other without harassment or without need for any precautious knowledge to the law enforcers. Everybody can move around. That is one loophole there. So for an herder, he has the right to move from state to state with his cattle. So that is the law in which the rearers have used to move around the country without any stress.
Okay. All right. So now this obviously is creating some issues, and that begs the question of, is there no possible arrangement, understanding that this is no new issue to the country? What can be done? Would like to, I think the point of discussion is to hopefully this content gets out there for people to actually rub minds with us, as well as and also listen to some of the ideas. So I think one of the objectives I would like to get out from this discussion is more so, what would you suggest as a solution? Obviously, there's this subject of the herders being emboldened via being issued weaponry, and obviously the farmers not being able to defend themselves. So what would you say, if you were in the position of a leader? What would you suggest as a solution to this problem?
Hmm. Uh, there's no one type of general solution fits all in this situation. Understanding there are many battlefields, so to speak, across the whole country, ranging from state to state, local government to local government, different issues and different peculiarities to those issues. But mainly, the problem is between the elders and the farmers. Now, the most recent solution that was brought up by the former president, President Muhammadu Buhari, when he was in power, he proposed an initiative called Ruga. Ruga is for each state mainly to create a reserve area for ranching purposes. So those places will still have a depot, a ranch, and also veterinary house all the cattle needs in one very vast vicinity in every state across the country. But the reception of this idea was hostile because of the reputation of the herders, understanding they are very conscious of territory. And once those kind of things are already created, it creates a kind of stiff level to individuals that are not really identifiable to the general public. So that idea went down the drain.
Hmm.
But for now, I'll say that the most obvious solution is, for me, free range feeding of cattle is fast becoming archaic. There are newer modernized methods for taking care of cattle, which can even be intensive care, where they can be in one position. Or we can have, for me, I believe we need to have where states, maybe the states will have to decide where they fall. Is this a farming state or a cattle state? If the if we can have focus in that ideology, then probably each state can know what to prioritize on.
Hmm.
So if you're prioritizing on agriculture, then we can now bring in big agricultural equipment, facilities, plan on those areas to improve general plant-based agriculture because they are both agriculture. Then the other parties where they want cattle can interconnect with other states with ideologies together where they can interbreed their cattle, whether in intensive care or in free range. Those ways, the states that accept cattle rearing can now develop infrastructures and even cattle ranges where we can have lots of animals without disturbing the production of another farm. Because if we don't divide this region and territories, it will keep interconnecting in ways that will be negative to the general public.
Okay, so thank you very much. That was a very interesting elaboration. So I think I have about two questions. So I'm just going to start with the first. The issue of free range, and also which brings into the question you what you mentioned about these herders being armed. One would think that one would be armed with such heavy duty equipment. So do you feel that there's some level of personal interest in this movement, or is that someone that is there an intentional facilitation of discord within states? What would you have to say about that, or do you feel it's just a question of tradition that has seems to want to continue even in this present time?
Owning of heavy weaponry is because of the the space left out in the society where security is not really a thing of utmost importance
Mm,
for the lowly in the society. Those people, to be honest, they are deep in the bushes,
yes.
and there are some very wicked people too that target them in the
Mm,
bush to steal their cattle. That has conditioned them in owning very dangerous weapons to protect themselves and their cattle. Now, right there in that mist between those headers too, there are people that are very violent too. Not all of them. Now they're now emboldened and now use those weapons on innocent farmers who have no reason to own weapons.
mm,
So this is also linking into a social conflict where if the government understand and create a point of communication between these two associations, then real time solutions will come out and they will be able to understand deeply where and how to identify whether a farmer or a cattle or where how they interconnect will be so easily trashed out when they can have a point where they discuss.
okay. All right, so I think what we can I think what I can draw from that specifically, so the need to protect oneself, especially when there is no proper security apparatus in place, has made these persons to resort to actually seeking means for protection. Okay, and obviously, just like we would have, I think, with the training, one part of the training with the armed forces is that you have to learn some level of discipline and restraint before you can be trusted with a weapon. But unfortunately, since these were people who have decided to resort to self-defense and seek out means to protect themselves, and which can almost seem logical an approach. But obviously, just like with human nature, you have certain people who have uh, with power tend to want to abuse that from the group. So that is fast turning into another crisis when initially the goal was defense. So it's more so assault now, from the portion that seems to not have good intents in heart. So initially, protection was the focus, self defense was the focus, but unfortunately, just as we have with any group, you can have a certain subsect of that group who have ill intent. Okay, so that should be the case in this situation. Basically, speculatively speaking, so we don't necessarily know for certain. So so let's move. That moves brings me to my other question. So you spoke about new means and adopting new means for grazing, and also when it comes to farming that has to deal with, or we say, animal husbandry. I think that's what they call it. How do we because there's a statement that says old habits die hard. Okay, and we're dealing with a class of society that this is all they have known, and very a trade which has been most likely passed down to them by their parents, and that is continued on, and indeed a trade that should be valued and respected, because without this segment of society, the whole society will starve, because we they are at the very heartbeat of survival. So what's in the keeping of the society, because without them we can't survive. So much needed trade. So since this is something they have practiced for so many years, how do you suggest people leave and adopt the new? Would you suggest some kind of orientation in place? Well, how would you sway one from what his father probably taught him into accepting a new way, which might be fairly complex or reasonably complex based on previous adoption?
You see, that is a very important question because because it directly affects the those that are actually on the playing field in this issue. It is difficult because most of these people are not Westernly educated. They are not, so most of them would find it difficult to accept this new meaning. Now, the best way the government can go about it is to introduce capacity building and also use incentives to draw them close. Having general hospitals that can save them right there in rural places, general hospitals for humans and veterinary hospitals for their animals. So places where you can have the milk of their animals being pulled out easily. Big facilities like that would help them in coping with those measures. So when they already have places where they know they can take their animals to, which is generally for every one of them, it will be easy for extensionist agents to teach them new practices and also tell them that even moving around with your animals make them leaner because if they stay put in one position, they tend to retain more fat. They can now start seeing the advantages and the disadvantages of what they've been doing before and how they can take advantage of what is available now. So I think with incentives and also infrastructure, social infrastructures for the populace involved, with that they should be able to draw them close.
Okay. I have two questions from what you said. So, first and foremost, what you're suggesting is a sensitization approach, and kind of like a carrot approach, carrot to actually carrot in a positive sense in this light, more so giving them reason to also giving them something to actually appreciate and understand that it's actually to their benefit. So definitely that's I think that's good. So I will just have a little more question on the sensitization approach. What would you, in the capacity of a president or someone who is placed to govern this transitioning, how would you suggest, how would you go about it, understanding that there are many barriers in place, like we have the language barrier, many of whom can speak the English language so fluently, and sometimes you might be dealing with very native dialects, and so how do you intend to communicate with them? How do you intend to make sure that everybody understanding that these people dwell in the bushes? How do you intend to find every one of them? How do you intend for the news to spread? What kind of measures would you put in place to ensure that this doesn't touch a small population, but in fact actually is so effective that it reaches to all that are concerned when it comes to grazing?
That is where the national identification comes into play. That is why it is important for the government to understand and find strategic means in reaching even the most distant of the citizens within the shores of the country, so as to understand how to reach and where to reach them. This and the NIN is a good initiative that has by far out-achieved a lot of its counterparts in the past. And we can see now that we have more and more people in the NIN bracket because of the importance tying it together with your phones and other things like that have made it so important that most Nigerians are getting it. So most of this would be relied on through the traditional institutes, the NIN. Those are the means we can go as far as possible in meeting these people. Now, the traditional institution of each local government state would play a vital role in this because they are the closest to the grassroots, together with the local government chairman, who come together to seek out everybody living in their communities so that everybody will know what each person is identifying as. And the community of the farmers, the community of the herders should come together and create a singular unit for discussions of their conflicts and possible solutions, working together to to bring prosperity to the two of them because they are sharing space, land, and resources.
Okay. So I think that's a fair enough initiative, but unfortunately things aren't always as practical in Nigeria, as we know. So there's always interest, greed, and position and access to the funds, and unfortunately some of these things tend to disappear as the I would say the instruction trickles down to the very grassroots it's supposed to get to. And that's so that would be another challenge in place to actually making sure that this is carried out effectively, because a beautiful idea is ineffective if it doesn't reach the people it's supposed to reach. So that is I think that is also another topic for next time, which we can discuss on how we can ensure that the corruption doesn't disrupt the initiatives in place. And I'm sure many presidents in the past, as you mentioned, have tried to attempt something. And we also have the issue of corruption, but there is also an issue of ethnicity and things that must have, or sentiments that still exist, probably from the war, which we once sadly experienced, and also from the divide in ethnicity that is subtly present amongst us, even though we claim to be brothers. But there seems to be something that is hovering around the air, and obviously something that needs to be resolved. Okay, so that brings me to another thing I would like to say, probably a final question, which is connected to this subject. And just to make it clear, we're talking about food security, and basically focusing on the impediments that seems to be hindering the attainment of having a sustainable solution when it comes to food security, because there is no reason as a people why we shouldn't have that security. We have a lot of land, but it seems to be crisis, interest, and corruption seems to be getting in the way. So I think this is another topic we need to also elaborate on in the future. And we hope that we would have you here with us again in the future. So just moving forward as we finalize today's discussion, more so, I have a question focusing on the subject of independence and self sustainability. I know this is a word that has been thrown around in recent times, but when I speak about sustainability, I do not mean it in the same sense as the technological or green revolution. I mean, even though there's some green involved in this subject, but it's more so focused on individual states and regions. How is it that there has been occasional instances within specific periods, a scarcity or absence or a threat to food supply, but yet it seems that each region and each state seems to sit still, understanding that food is one of the most important commodities or resource one could have, because now we have cars, we have all kinds of resources or things that we would love to have as human beings. But unfortunately, the reality is that if food is absent, we seem to sell off those things just to eat. So that obviously makes the importance of food of high focus. So why is it that states, and why is it that regions, speaking about the southeast, southwest, and other regions that are outside the north, have not considered diving into the business of agriculture, because that would seem to solve the problem as a collective, being a nation. So the more we have, the more we can better tend to demands, the more we can better resolve issues around food security. I think some level of investment should be focused on this subject, on these in these other states, and also in these regions wherein the states are concerned.
Yeah, there are. You can see that the in this general south there is stigmatization of the farmers, where the society has deliberately looked down on farmers and tagged the farming profession as impoverishing. This has affected the younger generation in the perception of when they are trying to build who they want to become. It's always eludes farming because they don't want to be represented as a wretched individual by means of choosing a profession that has led them in that direction. That is a social problem affecting the whole South because everybody wants to be a oil producer. Everybody wants to be a big banking operator. Everybody forgetting that we in the South majorly are predominant farmers. Most of the infrastructures we have in the country nowadays, not even now, back then, when this country was laid forward, most of the infrastructure that started and built this country was on the back of agriculture. Now that agriculture now is being stigmatized, the northern areas still see a lot of value in agriculture. That is why most of the resources coming into the country now is either coming from a foreign country or from the north of the country, which is a general issue that the southern states have to look into. Because without looking into that, the the vast arable land that is available in the southern area of this country is just going to be a waste. Because no matter how the farmers are complaining about the conflict enough, if there are no farmers anymore enthusiastic enough to put their investments in the line, then there will be no growth. And sadly, we'll still continue to have hiking food prices. So the first thing that needs to be done is to remove the stigma from farming. Let us come together and appreciate farming because, like you said, once there is no food, every asset brought together will be converted into value or into food for sustainability.
Okay, thank you very much. That is a very beautiful elaboration. And as always, we had, as I stressed prior to the interview, it's always an honor to speak with you, sir. And it's we hope to have you
Thank
again.
you very much.
And
Thank you very much.
so, just as we close, I would like to remind you all that Mr. Ayodele Amole is a consultant, is a business consultant, is a life coach as well, and if I'm not mistaken, I think I did see one of your sessions with a group of market women and how you were lecturing them on adopting the new way, so as to increase their sales and having them exposed to social media. So I think that's a beautiful thing you're doing, and I hope to be present in one of your sessions when I have the time. So, Mr. Adele Amole is a writer, and some of his articles can be found on Medium. As a matter of fact, one of the things that triggered this discussion with you and the topic choice was I think I was touched by your last, was it second to the last write up? I'm a fervent reader, by the way. So I think it
Thank
was
you very much.
titled
Thank you very much.
Letters from Nigeria. So I think that was a very emotional write up, and I think it stirred me to actually pull up this interview with you in mind. So hopefully we'll be, the other things we didn't get to discuss, we'll be able to discuss that. And as you can see on the screen, so Mr. Ayodele, I think you go by the name 25th Avenue. So if you can just make that clear. So definitely that is his company, and part of the things I have mentioned is what the company is involved in. So we would love to have you again. So we'll try and schedule that probably within the coming weeks, or possibly again this week, but we'll look at our schedule and see what works. So I don't know if you would like to, if you have a few words to Nigerians, and also if you can also share your social media with, and how people can reach you, your phone number, and then we can call it a day. So I will just leave the remaining 3 minutes to you, and let you have the floor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm a business consultant, a writer, and also a data analyst. Yes, you can reach me on my telephone. My phone number is 081 And that you can also contact me via that number on WhatsApp. And on my, you can see me on Instagram as Dark Mode and 25th Avenue, the 25th Avenue. There, I think that should do for now. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you very much. And just before we close out, we would like to thank our sponsor for this program, and for, in fact, all our programs. I would like to thank distresssales.net. As you know, as I probably mentioned before, or probably would have been mentioned on our page, distresssales.net is actually an entity that facilitates buying and selling of distress sales items. So we will be glad for you to patronize them as you can, if you can, of course, and also try to sign up to the platform. Okay, so I think that if you have anything to sell, you have anything to buy, especially in these times where we're looking to buy things for cheap, I think that will be a perfect platform to actually buy things at a very reasonable price.